What's up, Internet? My name is Michael Cook. This is Blue Giant Media, and we're here to connect through gaming. Today, we're going to put the spotlight on Orbis. This is a game by Tim Armstrong and published by Space Cowboys. In this game, we are all kind of mythological gods creating our own little universe. So if you ever wanted to create your own universe, this is the game for you. So here I've got Orbis set up for 2 players. So you've got one more god than you have players. You've got 9 tiles available. You've got some tiles removed. You've got just a couple of these based off of the number of players, and you're going to claim those by having more of these white tiles that have little temples on them for points at the end of the game. And yeah, so we got things pretty much set up here. On your turn, you are going to be choosing one of these tiles here. So you go ahead and grab one of the tiles. You'll place it in front of you to start building your own little universe. You will grab the tile. You will take any. You will seed the board with worshippers of that color to all the adjacent spots. If there's any worshippers on the tile that you grabbed, you get to claim them, and then you can pay the cost of the tile and place it down in front of you. If you choose not or cannot, either one, to pay the cost of the tile, you can flip it over, and you can place this, which is basically a wild color, which helps for placement and to get around the fact that maybe you can't do anything, but it is going to be worth -1 point at the end of the game. So you'll go ahead and take that, set it down, and then you'll flip over a new tile, and it's the next player's turn. Oh, sorry. And then it's got a benefit here. This one says to immediately take 2 green worshippers. So you can go ahead and do that. Boom. That's done. Moves to the next player's turn. So let's say for them, they're going to go ahead and take this one. That's going to give 2 red worshippers out like that. You don't have to pay a cost. Then you get to take 2 for yourself because of the benefit of that tile, and a new one comes out. So now let's say we've got this one right here that costs a red and a blue. That's what is up here. So I want to say I'm going to take a blue. I'm going to get to take these blue worshippers here, spread them around, and then I get to take 2. And then maybe this player says that they want to try and get that one next. So they're going to go ahead and grab one of these because they want to get a blue to be able to pay for that. And they know that this player doesn't have a red. But there's something else to consider. So anyway, I'll get to that in just a second. Then this player is going to get 2 white worshippers, and they will seed the board with all of those. Now it's going to come to this player's turn. This player doesn't have any red, but remember the order that things happen. You get to choose the tile. You get to seed the board with the worshippers. You get to claim the worshippers that are on that tile, then pay the cost. So I didn't have a red to start with, but I was able to get the one from that tile to pay for it. Now this one is the first one that we've seen that does something a little bit different. It's going to give you this tile right here, which is going to make it so I do not have to pay the cost. So this one costs a red, yellow, and a green. Well, I do not have to pay for the green because I have this tile right here. Then I will go ahead and take this. It's also worth 1 point to me at the end of the game. Now when I place this tile, the thing to consider is you have to put it so that it's adjacent to one of your tiles. The bottom row is going to have 5 wide, but you can't place them like this and try and fill in the gap. You also can't place a tile like this so that there's an empty space beneath it. It's going to have to sit nestled between or above 2 others. Except the other caveat is one of the cards or tiles beneath it has to match the color. So this is yellow, this is blue, this is green. No dice. So I'm going to want to place this here. On a later turn, I can go ahead and try and play a yellow one here or a blue one here. The blue could go in either space because it'd be above this blue. Green could go here. So that's where these wilds come into play, but is at the cost of 1 point at the end of the game. And it's a pretty low scoring game, so 1 point is pretty significant. You'll go ahead and play through all of these until you have 15 tiles. At any point, you can choose to draft one of these god tiles instead of drafting one of these. Some of them are going to give you an immediate benefit, like this one says that you're going to take 5 worshippers of your choice, any color, add them to your supply, and then it's going to be worth 1 point to you at the end of the game. You'll go ahead and set this aside, and once you've got 5, then 4, then 3, then 2, this is going to be the capstone on top of your pyramid, your universe. At the end of the game, you're going to look at your temples. Some of these white tiles are going to have 1 or 2 temples on them. Whoever's got the most temple symbols is going to take the one of these that's worth the most points. You'll be able to do, see, like this one's got 2. Some of them are going to do stuff like this one. As soon as you grab the tile, you get to try and sacrifice, in this case, 4 blue worshippers that are out here. If you do, then you get to make this worth 2 points at the end of the game. If you don't, you need to immediately mark it like that to let you know, hey, that's not going to be worth points. To me, I think that's fiddly. I think there should be a better way to account for it, whether that tile is going to actually be worth something or not. That's my opinion. Then there's this one right here. This is going to give you points if it overflows, the water kind of flows down onto a tile of that color. So this needs to be above a yellow. So it can either be here or here. Just has to be above a yellow tile. If it is at the end of the game, it's going to be worth 2 points. Let's see what else we got here. Last one's green. If you have, this one says that it needs to be adjacent to 3 either green or whites. So there can be like this, there's 1 green adjacent to it, and then let's say I had something like this. Now there's a green and a white, and then when I go above it, if I put either a green or a white there, then I've satisfied it because I got green, green, white. That's 3. Hooray! That's 3 points. Then the other one that you'll see is these yellow ones. This says as soon as you grab this tile, you will pay any 3 extra of any color worshippers in order to make it worth 3 points. If you don't, then you'll again mark it with this to show you that you did not actually succeed in doing that thing. At the end of 15 rounds drafting and building your little universe, you will again see who's got the most points, temples to get this, add up all the rest of your points, looking at your god, and whoever has the most points will be the winner. So that's how you play Orbis. Now I want to let you know what I do like about Orbis. I really like the mechanism where you can choose a tile, and when you pull it, it's going to seed the areas around it with the other worshippers. I think that's really cool. It's something that you really have to consider. Okay, if I grab this, then it's going to put some worshippers here, which is going to make it easier for them to pick that person up because they aren't really sacrificing that much. You also have to think about, well, that tile's okay, but what makes it great is the fact that it's got all these extra worshippers on it. I think that's really cool. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a great consideration that, and a strategical, I guess, tactical consideration that you have to make while you play. Other things that I really like about it is the art. The art is it's really great. The color palette is vibrant. It's lush. It's just a lot of fun to look at. I guess all the little sort of hexagons, because they're not exactly hexagons, they look maybe just a little bit bland. Maybe each one could have a little bit more unique art on each individual tile, but that's sort of nitpicking. Overall, the game does look, it looks really good. I wish it all looked as good as the box cover did, but overall it looks great. Other things that I do like about the game, there's that whole element of where you're trying to decide, okay, what can I build up? You have to, your choices do get narrower as you go forward, and I think that's really fun. That constraint is really interesting. Things that I don't like. Overall, to me, the more I played, the more I realized there really wasn't as much tension as there was at first blush. Because ultimately, I realized after the first 4 or 5 turns that essentially just about every single tile was worth the same amount of points. The winning scores are going to be around, like, I don't know, 20-ish, something like that. It's low scoring, and it's pretty rare that there's a tile that's going to score more than a point more than others. And I think that they tried really hard to make sure that the game was balanced, but it almost reached the point where it is too balanced and there's not really any negative or bad choice. When I've played, scores are usually very, very tight, which usually is an indication of a well-balanced and kind of tense game. But to me, for some reason, it felt the opposite. It felt like it didn't matter what I did. No matter what I did, it was going to get me the same number of points. Whether I took that kind of crummy tile, like at any given time, there was 4 or 5 different tiles out of the 9 that was going to give me the same number of points overall. So it just felt like my decisions didn't matter as much as I wanted them to. They mattered for placement of the worshippers, which was interesting. I enjoyed. They mattered for the way I built up my little pyramid, which I liked. But overall, that fell so flat to me that it took this game from something that I had heard some buzz about it. I watched videos and went, oh wow, that looks really cool. I want to try it out. I tried it out and just went, oh, well, there are a couple things that were really good, but overall it wasn't what I hoped it was going to be. But who is still going to like this game? People who love that building up aspect. I think that's really cool, the fact that you have to kind of think ahead. You still do have to have that forward planning, and I think that's really cool. I think that is something that a lot of people will enjoy very much about the game. It's also a different theme. There's not a whole lot of games where you are kind of creating your own universe. It doesn't necessarily feel that much like it, but each one is different. I don't exactly know how a pyramid translates to a universe, but there is sort of just like, okay, this is the foundational elements of my world. I think it should be thought more of as a world than a universe, but I do think that is a unique theme. The artwork is great, and it's going to draw a lot of people in. It is light, it is accessible. If those are your types of games, you're going to like this. People who are not going to like this game are going to be people who want a bigger, more epic experience, in my opinion. The art kind of lends itself, the theme kind of lends itself to a game that's going to be a little bit more epic, a little bit more in-depth, whereas it really is pretty simple. It is definitely Gateway, possibly Gateway Plus. It's not a complicated game. It's not going to carry a lot of weight. And as I mentioned before, if you feel like your decisions don't necessarily carry weight, if it's not going to make that big of an impact, then you're not going to like the game. It's going to feel like it did for me, where, okay, well, my decision is basically, do I want this one that does A, or this one that also does A? This one's going to give me 2 points. This one's also going to give me 2 points. Maybe if they rebalanced it so that the scores were out of 100, so that there was, okay, this one could give me 7, but this one could give me 8, rather than this one can give me 2, this one can give me 2. That might give it a little bit more of an edge, to the point where it's more tense. So maybe there's going to be an expansion down the road that's going to add more gods, more types of tiles, and maybe rebalance things, another way to score points. I don't know. But to me, that's one thing that it really needs, is to make it so that there's more points available, and to make it so that that will kind of create a little bit of a better hierarchy between the tiles. Okay, this one now is going to be worth slightly less, but it's too hard to make that distinction of slightly less when your score is only out of 20, because slightly less is 5% of your score. So you can't really get away with doing that in the design process. And with that, let's go ahead and take the spotlight off of Orbis. If you want to know more, you can look in the description section, where you can find my unboxing as well as a setup and playthrough of Orbis, so you can get a feel for more about the game. And you'll also find a link to macronovagames.com, where you can buy Orbis and a whole bunch of other great games. If there's anything that I was just completely off base on, please let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to connect with you and get a little bit of dialogue on why you do or don't like Orbis, and see where I have gone astray, because I probably have. If you like what you see, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day.